This time on the Coach's Cut with Mike Tice, we're breaking down the A.J. Brown drama and the comments made by Jets owner Woody Johnson. Plus, Bears legend and Pro Football Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher joins the show. All that and so much more right ahead. Welcome inside the Coach's Cut. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Now it's time to meet the star of the show. Playing tight end in the NFL for 14 seasons, this 6'8" former college quarterback went on to become the tight end and offensive line coach for 5 franchises, as well as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. There he is. It's the one, the only Mike Tice. Happy to be with you, Coach. Happy Halloween. What do you and Diane give out for Halloween?
Happy Halloween. Well, we got more candy than we got last year, because last year we ran out.
Okay, good.
And then you put your lights off, and then they start talking about how cheap you are. We went to Costco.
Okay, good. All
Are
right.
we allowed to say that?
Yeah, so Mike Tice's house is the one to be at for Halloween. All right, so Coach, let's start with some Jimmys and Joes. So 6-2, the Philadelphia Eagles, my birds, are entering the bye on a high note, dismantling the Giants, scoring 38 points last week, yet drama surrounds their number one wide receiver, A.J. Brown, perpetually causing drama with cryptic posts on social media. What's the problem with this guy?
Well, Mike, I was fortunate enough to play with 3 great Hall of Famers, Steve Largent, Art Monk from the Washington Commanders, or Redskins.
Yes.
And Randy Moss, I coached. I only had one diva in that whole group, Chris Carter, who's in the Hall of Fame. And he was hard. He was hard. If he didn't get his balls, if he didn't get his touches, there were some problems on the sideline.
Whether win or lose.
Whether win or lose.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
So here, I just don't understand with A.J. Brown. He wins the Super Bowl last year. He's got all this money now after signing a 3-year extension in Philly, $84 million guaranteed. He's still not happy. I mean, they're winning without him. 38 points, he didn't play last week.
I know, 38 points. This doesn't play. Seem to have fun on the sideline, the players. They seem to be out there for each other.
Yes.
But now you have a player that's more concerned about how many targets he gets and how many catches he gets.
So how do you handle this? Because, of course, you coached Randy Moss. He was 10 times, 100 times the wide receiver A.J. Brown is. How do you handle a guy who's, got the spotlight on him? He's got a big personality, but they also contribute.
Well, Randy Moss is obviously a unique athlete, a great player. Like you said, way better player than A.J. Brown. Sorry, A.J. But Randy only had moments when we were not winning the game and he wasn't getting his targets and his touches. And he would say, I can help us win. I can help us win. And obviously, if you look at his career, he was probably right.
Yeah, 100%.
Not probably, definitely.
No, he was 100% right. Now, Coach, you're a native New Yorker. The Jets also on the bye week now. They just snagged their first win of the year last week against the Bengals, but they also had their fair share of drama. As owner Woody Johnson, you see him right there, made comments prior to the win about quarterback Justin Fields and how the team has been doing. Of course, Aaron Glenn, new head coach there. He just got his first win. So what did you think about everything with Woody Johnson and those thoughts?
Well, first off, let's say last week, me and my stats, there was only one score game, and that was the Jets game when they won 39-38. But here's the thing. The owner owns the team. He has the right to say what he wants. Obviously, it had to affect the quarterback. You saw his interview, I think you might have, Justin Fields' interview after the game. He was certainly bothered by it. He talked about the noise.
How can you not be?
How can you not be? But in tribute to Justin Fields, he went out, stepped up, had his best game maybe of his pro career, and they won the game because of Justin Fields. Not in spite of Justin Fields.
It's a good point. It's just weird to me because, listen, A.J. Brown, you expect almost the drama from the wide receiver. The billionaire owner has to know that that's causing more distress for the whole organization. But listen, you coached under a guy named Red McCombs, okay? He was an outspoken American businessman, automotive dealer. We see him right there. He always had a lot to say, it seems like, very outspoken. How did you handle working for a guy like that?
Well, fortunately, Red McCombs was never in town, so he did all of his yelling. He did all of his yelling and barking from San Antonio. But I'll give you one story. Every Monday, if we didn't have a good game, he would call Scott Lanahan, our offensive coordinator, and berate him on the phone. And
Like how much yelling?
Quite a bit. And tell them, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right, you didn't do this right. And Scott couldn't take it. So at the end of the season, he left and went to the Miami Dolphins. So he chased my offensive coordinator out. But it's tough. But look at Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones always has a comment. Jerry Jones always has something to say. But you hire people, you hope they are good at what they do. Let them do their jobs. It's not your job to criticize the quarterback's completion percentage or his quarterback rating. That's the job of the head coach and the general manager.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. All right, well, we're just getting started here on the Coach's Cut with Mike Tice. Next up, the legendary linebacker, Brian Urlacher, joins the show. The Pro Football Hall of Famer sits down with Coach Tice one-on-one.
Well, I have the great pleasure of being joined by a New Mexico graduate, NFL Rookie of the Year in 2000, NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2005, 8 times Pro Bowler, 2017 inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame, and of course in 2018 inducted into the National Football Hall of Fame. My man, Brian Urlacher. Urlacher, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, Coach. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit.
It's been a while.
So last week I had on somebody that you know very well. At least you know his daddy. I had Bobby Babich on. They had a bye week, and he's talking about, what they're going to do during the bye week. And we talked about creating turnovers. They went out and created 3 turnovers last week. Looked pretty good against Carolina. But I want to really have you talk about his dad, Bob Babich, your coach in Chicago, and what he means to you.
So Bullet, I call him Bullet Bob. So he coached me, I think, was it 9 years there? They came in after my 4th year, and he coached me from my 5th to my last year. Man, I learned so much from Bob. First of all, we bicker like we're brothers, because when I used to come off the sideline every game, he would try and correct me. I'm like, Bob, I know what I did wrong. I'm good. I know that. He gets so mad because I wouldn't sit down on the bench so he could talk to me. I know what happened, Bob, blah, blah, blah. He used to get so pissed off at me. But sorry to interrupt. He was fun because I knew every game going into the game, I was prepared for everything. There's nothing they could do offensively that would confuse me because of the way we prepared during the week. He had us prepared. He challenged us during the week. Him, Coach Marinelli, Coach Smith, during our walkthroughs, they challenged us every day. They gave us the hard stuff we could possibly see. As a player, you appreciate that because you don't want to go into a game on Sunday unprepared or not knowing that you might see something that you haven't seen before. So there's no doubt about that. But I love that dude. He's like a dad to me. We still talk about every week. He calls me a lot because he got a lot of free time these days. But I love him. He was my presenter for the Hall of Fame as well.
Yes.
That was a hard choice because I played for so many great men. But he was my clear and cut number 1.
Well, that's quite an honor for Bob. And I talked to Bob quite a bit, too. He came out to my golf tournament in Seattle last year, him and Nancy, and I'd love to get you out there one of these years.
Trying, Coach. I'm trying.
I know, but you're in Tahoe all the time.
The timing's tough.
So let's talk about the Bears, man. So after they won 4 games in a row, and I hate to say it, the combined record of the teams they beat are 9-21-1. So
they don't make the schedule.
No, I know. They just got to play the games. But I still root for them. And, they took a step back last week.
Yeah.
Tough game. But they do have some teams that are beatable coming up. They got the Bengals, the Giants, and the Vikings who aren't playing such hot football right now. So what are your thoughts about the job that Ben Johnson, for those that don't know, Ben Johnson's done to this point after 7 weeks?
I'm excited about the direction they're going. They're 4-3. A 4-game win streak is a big deal there. I haven't seen that in a long time in Chicago, so it was exciting to see that. I don't care what the team's records are they played. They won 4 in a row because you know how hard it is to win the NFL no matter what your record is. I like what he's done. I like Caleb Williams. I think he's doing a good job. You look at his rookie year. He didn't turn the ball over that much. He didn't play great. I'll give him that, but he did not turn the ball over. I think that's a big deal, especially for a young quarterback to take care of the football. Not doing the same thing this year, not turning the football over. They got to protect him better. I mean, and they'll come with him knowing that the defense is better and get rid of the ball. You know how that goes, Coach. It kind of marries with the protection, getting rid of the ball, that good stuff. But I like what they're doing. He's bringing an attitude to that team that I haven't seen in a long time. I think he's a hard-nosed guy. He doesn't put up with anything, and I think they're starting to show that on the field.
Yeah, and I agree with you about Caleb. I think he's starting to mature. Last year he took so many sacks. He's taken less sacks this year. He's starting to get a feel for what Ben wants to do with the offense. I like the Bears. I think they have a couple tough games coming up in the month of November. They got to play the Steelers. They got to play the Eagles and the Packers. And I think that really will define – I think those 3 games late in November will define their season.
The Steelers are kind of letting me down a little bit right now as
Wow.
well. I mean, they were so hot, and then after the Cincy game, they should have not lost that game, obviously. But then they lose to I don't know. They lost a couple in a row. It's kind of frustrating because I like Aaron Rodgers. I've always been a Rodgers fan, playing against him all those years in Green Bay. Yeah. But he's one of the best. It's just frustrating to see how they're kind of falling off there a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Defensively, the Bears lead the league in interceptions with 11. Bayard has 4, and the old Maryland linebacker Tremaine Edmonds has 3. Speaking of, he had a great career with the Bills, and now he's with the Bears. I like to see him playing on grass. It looks good. So what else about the defense is exciting to you? I know that's your side of the ball. Me, I'd talk about offense all day, but what excites you? What else excites you about this?
The takeaways are huge. As a coach, you know how big those plays are. It's an extra possession for your offense during the game, whether it's field position or scoring points, whatever it may be. It's a big deal to get the ball back for your offense. It's frustrating for the other team as well. They've been banged up in the back end, and they're still playing pretty good defense. They got, their best corner, I think the best player on defense, Jalen Johnson, hasn't really played much this year. Tremaine's playing great. I've always been a big fan of his. When he was at Buffalo, I was a huge fan of his. Look at his body. He's 6'5", 240, runs unbelievable. I was happy. I was not happy when they traded Roquan, but I was happy when they replaced Roquan with him, because I think you kind of go 1 for 1 there. They're both great players. Tremaine is a different type of player with his range and what he can do. TJ Edwards is a good linebacker as well. Would like to see a little more pressure up front. I think anytime you get more pressure, you're going to get more takeaways, and it's going to help. Offensively, coach, they're running the ball really good this year. I was going to say that when we were talking about Caleb. DeAndre Swift showing up a little bit more in the last couple of weeks.
He's averaging almost like 4.8 yards a carry. He's doing a nice job.
That dude is a bad. They can get him rolling and keep him rolling. They're going to be good on that side of the ball as well. Anyway, back to defense. I just like the way they're playing. Dennis Allen knows defense. That guy's been around for a long time, and he's coached some really good defenses, and they're doing what you got to do. You got to be good in the red zone, take the ball away, and get sacks on defense.
Yeah, and they're second lack on third down conversion rate against their opponents. Only letting up like 32% on third down.
That's a huge deal. Getting off the field on third down,
man.
Big deal.
Yeah, without a doubt. So let's move on to the rest of the North, and it's such a great division this year. A lot of good football teams out there in the North. Who knows what the Vikings are going to do with J.J. McCarthy down the stretch here. Talk to me a little bit about the NFC North, because I'm sure you follow it like I do.
Yeah, stacked division, right? A couple of weeks ago, everyone was over 500, and they were all, you had Green Bay at the top, Detroit right there. Minnesota it was Bears in Minnesota, but the Minnesota's kind of fallen off the last couple of weeks. See what happens, like you said. See what happens when JJ gets back in there. See if they can get better. Their defense hasn't been playing like we're used to them playing the last couple of years. They're not getting takeaways and doing what they've normally done. Green Bay and Detroit, kind of expected, right? You think you look at the quarterbacks on those teams and the depth they have, you figured they'd be good. Detroit's starting to get healthy again as well. It's crazy how teams go through these lulls during the season with injuries, and then they get a bye week, and bam, everyone's healthy again, and they're back to what we thought they were, like the Chiefs. Right. They're back to what everyone thought they were. They got their guys back. But it's a tough division. It's going to be – there's no walkover games in that division. There's no one really dragging the bottom. So should be tough to the end. I have a hard time picking against Detroit. For some reason, I just like Dan Campbell. I like the way Dan Campbell. He's awesome. I like the way they run the football with those 2 running backs. Defensively, we'll see. They got to get some guys back, but they're going to be a tough team to beat in that division.
Yeah, they're a little beat up in the secondary, I think.
Always, I feel like.
So you returned punts at New Mexico. You kind of were a slash safety linebacker. Did you enjoy returning punts, and do you wish you would have done it in the NFL?
Yes, I enjoyed it. Once I caught it, it's stressful as hell when that ball's in the air, man, because I never caught. I was always catch it and just go straight up the field. I never put that arm up. I didn't do it in high school either. But in NFL, no, I would have been a horrible punt returner, because those, we had Devin. You saw Devin what he did. So, and then before Devin, we had my first couple of years back, Glenn Milburn and we had somebody else between Devin and he that was pretty good as well. So I'm good. I was happy to do it in high school and college, and that's enough for me.
Well, I just wanted to put that out there so all of our people can know what you did. Hey, listen, you and Lance were a pain in the neck to go against in practice with all that A-gap bluff, A-gap I'm dropping, A-gap he's dropping. You drove me crazy, but honestly, I learned a lot from it, and it was great. It was a great teaching point for me working against you guys. You know, I always enjoy talking to you and being around you, and thanks. I know you're really busy for taking the time to come on.
Same, Coach. I appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed our practices as well. It was fun talking to you at practice.
I know, you chirped a lot.
It was
Lance
fun,
chirped even more.
So did Olin, by the way. Your boy Olin never shut up either.
Oh, I love Olin.
One of the all-time greats.
Olin
all right,
Cruz.
Coach.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Appreciate you having me on.
All right,
Take
bye.
care.
Oh, that was great. All right, after the break, Coach Tice is telling us what he wants to see from the Raiders coming off a bye. Plus, Coach tells us why Pete Carroll brought in 33-year-old Tyler Lockett. All right, welcome back to the Coach's Cut with Mike Tice. Mike Davis here with you. So, Coach, teams are 6-2 coming out of the bye this year. The Raiders, after a week off, are now set to face the Jaguars. They're 2-5, the Raiders. So there's a lot to fix with them. But what do you think they're going to focus most on coming off the bye?
I think the first thing they're going to do, Mike, is look at what they're doing offensively. We've talked about it every week. They got to eliminate the turnovers.
Yeah.
I think part of that is maybe changing their personality a little bit. I'd lead with the run. I'd lead with the helping the offensive linemen in the passing game by running the football and doing more play action. I think that will help them. Now, as far as getting back the tight end, Bowers, he comes back supposedly this week. That's going to be big because you got to have your players on the field.
Okay, so offensively, they got to emphasize running the ball. Now, the other news from the Raiders this week is that they signed 33-year-old veteran wide receiver, Tyler Lockett, someone who knows Coach Carroll and Geno Smith well as he played with them in Seattle. So what do you think of this move, and why did they make it right now?
Well, I think they made the move to bring in a player that was recently released, and he has familiarity with the system. He knows the way Pete does things. He played for Pete for 9 years in Seattle. He played for 2 years with the quarterback. He had 9 touchdowns one year and I believe 5. So there's familiarity there. And he knows the message.
Yeah.
He knows the message that Coach Carroll wants out there for his team, and that's going to help them significantly. And they already have an A.J. Brown type guy that's not happy all the time in Jacoby Myers. So who knows what's going to happen there with the trade deadline coming up.
Of course, Raiders 2-5. Coach, you have a quote that I think would be helpful for everybody to hear, just because when you're 2-5 and you need to hear a good message, you need some change.
Well, I'm sure Pete's going to say something like this. You know, great works are not done by strength. They're done by perseverance. And the NFL season is long. It's not a sprint. Well, today's Breeders' Cup Day, right?
Yeah.
It's not a sprint. It's a Kentucky Derby, mile and a quarter. So perseverance, hang in there, know the message, and everybody be on the same page. You know, if you're singing sheet music and everybody's singing the same song, it sounds good. But when you have one person singing over here and one person singing over here, not such great harmony. Not great harmony.
Yeah, all right, good. So Tyler Lockett's going to be able to push that perseverance rather than strength. I like that, Coach. Guys, don't go anywhere. It's Odds and Ends when we return. All right, it's Odds and Ends time. Let's start with the turnover differential, Coach. That's your baby. So break down Week 8 for us.
Well, again, this year there's been an anomaly every week to where a team that didn't win the turnover ratio won the game. But this week, for the first time, all teams that were +1 or better, 7 teams won the games this week.
Okay, wow, so that's good to know.
That's good to know.
Hey, that's what you always preach on this show, so practice what you preach. But, Coach, interesting little wrinkle this week, though, because 6 teams didn't have a turnover differential, meaning 0. So what was the difference between the winners and the losers when there's 0 turnover differential?
Well, I tried to look at, for the show, when I tried to look at what was was there anything that was the same in all those teams winning? We know that there was no turnovers, or they both had 1, and it zeroed out. All the 6 teams that won those games had 30-plus carries, 30-plus rushing attempts. They also all won and if you're running the ball, you usually do, the time of possession.
Right.
Every team, all 6. So, like my son Nate says all the time, all right, so help me how I know what teams are going to win, right?
Hey.
Well, teams that have a good line and a good running back are going to run the ball.
Everybody's trying to change up the NFL with all these passing looks and all this stuff, but if you can run the ball, you got a pretty good chance to win.
And it sets up that great play action.
Yes, 100%. All right, so what's the season overview, though, when it comes to turnover differential?
It's really starting to separate itself. +1 teams are better, Mike, are 68, 34, and 1. You have that one tag with Dallas and Green Bay. Teams that are -1 or worse are 50, 80, and 1. And then you see up there on the screen all the top teams at this point in the season. We're halfway there. We'll see this weekend what teams are going to go forward and what teams are going to step backwards.
Well, next week we're going to be talking about some of the mid-season awards. I'm excited to see what you're going to give out for that. So you got to make sure you stick around for that. But Coach, real quickly, let's talk about some of the players of the month, right? Yeah. We got some time. So I know one guy who's killing it absolutely is Jonathan Taylor, right?
Yes,
this guy
absolutely.
could be in the rushing for the MVP of the league.
Well, two guys, and you love them both. Jonathan Taylor was the AFC Player of the Month for the Colts, obviously. And your guy, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I know you speak highly of all the time, was the Offensive Player of the Month in the NFC. And defensively, you have a name, Micah Parsons.
Right.
For the Packers. And then you have Marcus Jones, and I was shocked for the Patriots, a defensive back, which is not good for people moving forward that play the Patriots, because if they're going to be good, they got the quarterback in May, but if they're going to be good on defense, people are in trouble.
Yeah, they got a good secondary with Christian Gonzalez as well. Coach, great stuff there. Make sure you stick around for next week with us, because we're going to be talking all about those mid-season awards for everybody, for producer James, editor Jess, and Ryan and the entire production team. I'm Mike Davis. That's Coach Tice. We'll see you next time. Enjoy Week 9, everybody, and we'll see you back here next week for some mid-season awards on the Coach's Cut.